Hi, welcome to the Ames Web tutorial on how to administer the RCBM. My name's Kate DeMio. I'm the Lake Orion Literacy Consultant.
And I'm Tamara Oberle, the District Teacher Consultant.
The first thing you'll want to do is visit the Lake Orion homepage. If you go to LO Staff and then Data, you'll find a tab that says Ames Web. Start there.
Once you get to the Ames Web page, you're going to click on User Login, and then you're going to scroll down to a yellow tab that says District Login. You're going to type in our customer user ID 20347, your username, which is your first initial and your last name, and the password. Now you've had a temporary password sent to you from the data system, so be sure to change it within the next 30 days to whatever password per their specifications that you'd like.
If you ever have any problem with your password, you can email one of us and we can get that reset for you. Okay, so once you get into Ames Web, your first task will be to push that orange bar that says scoring. Once you get in there, you're just going to do a series of checks. Just check and make sure the right school is selected. Check and make sure that the reading tab, you'll see there it's highlighted in royal blue, is selected. And make sure that that dot is under RCBM.
Then you'll click on to the teacher page, and if for instance you're in middle school, the teacher is going to be the homeroom teacher, which I think is your star morning teacher. So when you're on that page, you're going to go click Scores. That'll bring you to the student page, and you see the student's name on the left. If you look to the right, you see a little blue word called Assess Now. You're going to click on Assess Now, and that'll bring you to the first assessment.
So when you give this first assessment, do you see up there in the corner, there's like a little timer already running? There'll be a blue button, and that blue button says Start Timer Now. I clicked on that, and the timer began. As you're going, if a student has an error, you simply click on the word, and when you do that, the word will turn red. When you're finished with a test, it'll go on to the second prompt. And again, you'll push Start Timer Now, click the red when there's an error. One thing you'll want to note is before it lets you leave the test, if you look really closely between the word no and some, you'll see like a little yellow highlighter. Right before it lets you leave the test, it asks you to click on the last word that they read, and then it just turns that word yellow. Now this is really tricky because at this point, if a child were to weirdly get the exact same score on passage 1 and passage 2, then it will stop you and it won't give you a third passage. But most kids, that's not the case, right?
Right.
So most kids, you'll go on and you'll have a third passage that you give. Again, pushing Start Timer Now. Red click means they got the word wrong. And then at the very end, a little click on a word that'll turn yellow.
And if you're using the iPad, which is a great tool, you're just tapping everything with your finger.
It'll be a lot clearer and a lot easier. So if you have access to an iPad, we definitely would recommend that. Okay, when you're finished testing, you'll just click Back to Scoring, which is that very first royal blue button, and it'll take you back to that student page where you can select another child. There'll be no need to push Save. That's going to automatically happen for you. You can just keep on going and roll through the rest of your class.
And click on Benchmark Probe. There's going to be 3 of them, Story 1, Story 2, Story 3. Click it on, click Print. Sometimes you have to download it before you print it, but either way you should be able to print it and have that ready for your student.
The other thing you might be interested in, especially if this is your first time and you're feeling a little uneasy about administering the test, is you might be interested in downloading the administration and scoring guide, which you'll see I found under that big yellow tab, Downloads. And when you do that, you'll find things like this. There were a few pages we found especially helpful, and we thought we would just take a moment to highlight those. I'll start by highlighting the things that are correct. Excuse me. So one thing you'll want to note is that if a child makes an error, but then quickly, like within 3 seconds, self-corrects, then it's not considered an error. Another thing you might note is that if their pronunciation of a word, maybe they have a speech problem, maybe they have an accent, if their pronunciation is off for one of those reasons, then it's not an error. And then finally, one that really gets us a lot of times is this proper noun issue. When a child says a proper noun incorrectly, like a person's name, the very first time they do that, it's considered an error, but in subsequent times, it's considered correct.
And some considerations for errors. Errors are mispronunciation or if a student substitutes a word. If they omit or skip a word in an entire row, you're just going to click the little box to the left of the row saying the row was skipped. If a student hesitates or struggles to produce a word for more than 3 seconds or transposes the word, both count as errors.
Okay, and finally, we just want to acknowledge that when a child repeats a word or inserts a word, it's not correct, nor is it an error. Finally, some good news. Do you have to enter it into Illuminate as well? No. If you enter your testing into Ames Web, then the district will upload at the end of the test period into Illuminate Education, and you'll be all set.
And the awesome thing about the program is your data will be in there instantly, so by the time you've finished your last student, you've got every report at your fingertips. And if you need help accessing the reports, contact either one of us. We can email them to you virtually or just answer any questions you may have.
We hope this worked for you, and if it did, perhaps you can tune in later for a video on how to access the data and what to do with that information. Have a great day.